So let's go back to it. Let's get back into it.
Yeah. I just want to make sure you guys are back up before I keep talking
Yeah, we're
because I
back up,
hear
and
all these
maybe.
pop sound effects and all kinds of stuff is happening in my
Oh,
ear hole.
hang on. We're
Yeah.
gonna.
Yep.
Where is it coming from, guys? All these notification sounds. It's where's it coming
It's not
from?
me, is it?
It's gone now. It looks like
Okay.
it's.
Yeah.
Is that sorted out? I hope it's sorted out. Okay, we should be good.
Okay. All right. So what happens is these new entries to the market, they find a new customer who's not profitable, that's unproven, and the big companies ignore them. And what they do is they create a technology for a new type of customer. So let's talk about this in the real world. Like, what does this look like? So you
Yeah.
remember back in the day. Now I'm a little bit older than 32, just by a little bit. But back in the day, we would go and buy a CD disc for music, right? And the generation before that bought cassette tapes, 8 track, or LPs, vinyl. And so people who were heavily invested in vinyl weren't really interested in audio cassette because the quality uh, was not as good, the fidelity. But what it was highly durable and portable. And then Sony comes in and invents the Walkman, and you could carry the music with you wherever you went. So they found a brand new market, a new customer to serve. So the people who want vinyl and think, and audiophiles still, I think to this day, prefer the sound quality of vinyl, uh, would say like that's not interesting to us. We don't want to develop cassette tape technology because it's an inferior product. It's in terms of the reproduction of sound, the lifelike richness that you would get, and this
Yeah.
happens over and over and over again. So once you get to CD, and they think, what's a better format of audio? Super CD, HD audio, and they try to get you a higher fidelity product because that's what they think the market wants, and they keep investing in this. And what happens over here? A little company, little kind of bootleg college organization started file sharing, music swapping, MP3s, and Napster was born. And then
Napster.
out of that comes iTunes. And then iTunes suddenly disrupts the entire market space. They make it easy for the customer to buy a song for $1, and you could just buy a single. And it begins. It's the beginning of the ending for physical audio. Now you would think, okay, what's the problem with an MP3? Well, again, it's really compressed. It's a small file, so it's
Yeah.
not giving you that full richness. And I like owning disc and holding things in my hand. There's no jacket art. There's just not that experience of going to the store and discovering something new at Tower Records and like boom, you just don't get that anymore. But this new type of customer cared more about convenience, portability, and to their genius, their marketing genius, you could put 1,000 songs in your pocket, and that's pretty dope. And this is happening time and time again for a variety of industries. So what creative people fall into the trap of is let's make it better. Let's make it higher fidelity. Let's have more color bit depth information. Let's make the resolution even bigger. Camera manufacturers, this is what they do. It's like it's not 4K, it's 6K. Forget about 6K, it's 8K. And they keep chasing this technology pipeline, but instead there's another kind of customer. And somebody that did this for a period of time, they're not as successful today, but GoPro.
Yeah.
GoPro allowed you to take a camera where you couldn't normally take a camera for surfing, for water sports, for snowboarding. The
Right.
quality wasn't as good, the rendering wasn't as good. It was shaky as heck, but they gave a new type of customer the ability to capture and record and share their content in new ways. So they created a brand new customer. And Peter Drucker talks about this, the legendary Peter Drucker. He says, a business exists to create a customer. So if you want to innovate, don't look at your current customer base and ask them, what more can I make for you? You have to find a new customer.
Let me expand on that idea a little bit
Yeah.
because this I'm sick of hearing this buzzword pivot. Like everybody's saying pivot, right? And we've actually had a conversation about pivoting. Uh, people are kind of in a place wherein do they pivot the approach of the existing business, or do they, because you're talking about a new customer, right? New customer. So are they going to pivot the existing business for that new customer, or does that mean they have to figure out a new business entirely? Now, it's a mixed bag of answers because there are some businesses that kind of were are just absolutely, you can't operate anymore given that it's not isolation ready or remote ready. But for those that can, what's the better approach, Chris? What's your take on that?
Okay. I don't think there's anything wrong with the word pivot if you truly understand what it means and you're doing it. You're not just saying it. Just like how people use the word branding or brand strategy, they become part of the vocabulary of how we speak and how we think. But if there isn't a real understanding of what pivot means, then we're in trouble right there. So the question for you is this: if you have an existing client who is, say, in the hospitality space, because that's getting hit real hard right now. So let's just understand, like, let's say it's a restaurant and people don't trust the food. They can't congregate there. There's no ways to facilitate a meal. Well, if your previous services were about doing the visual design, creating an identity system, the menus, your pivot there could be, how do I help my current client base that are in the hospitality, retail, food space? How do I help them solve a real problem right now, which is we need to order food online through our phone, preferably, or on the website. We have to have a clear and easy menu. We have to have a delivery system, not necessarily to ship it to them, but that's one of the solutions. But also, like, how do we pick up and process orders? How do we accept payment so that we minimize touch? How do we communicate a sense of confidence for the buyer, the end customer, that the food is safe to eat? How do we change the layout of the store and adapt to what's going on right now? And companies have been doing this here in the United States, just in the city in which I live in. And we can see two companies in a similar space, similarly priced food, targeting the same types of customers. I can see one moving really fast and adapting, and one moving really, really slow. And I'll without naming names, they're both healthy, fast casual dining places. One of them immediately, because they had their web app ready to go,
Right.
and you can order food right away, and it was super easy. And when you went to the store, you couldn't go in anymore. They opened a side door and they put up a table to stop you from going in. And then somebody there with a mask and gloves would ask you, "What's your name?" They would hand you your order, and off you would go. It's as simple as that. It's amazing, right? Okay. Yeah. The other one, conversely, you still had to go inside the store. The app was a little janky, and I could see the people making the food. Some were wearing masks. Some had it below their nose. It was not exactly instilling confidence in me. Now, let me tell you a little visual trick here. The first store, the first fast casual dining place, they created a label really fast that wrapped around the entire package saying, these are the 4 or 5 steps that we take to ensure that your food is prepared carefully, and we're telling you this is safe to eat. A safety seal. And it was in red, and it was like, you cannot miss this. So you have to break the safety seal. So they create ceremony around you eating, creating the illusion, at least within you, that it's safe to eat. And that's a design solution.
I agree, and it costs little to nothing. I mean, it's a sticker. You can print it out.
Yes, you can.
So you're talking about a restaurant, and it's amazing too. So what we're saying is, do not be so abrupt to kind of pivot. Like, think about your existing business and how to make it adapt, right? But
yes,
since we're on that track, let's go into the rabbit hole a little bit. We're talking about a restaurant, but what about a hotel? What about a hotel?
Okay. Yeah. Problematic there. Okay. And I do want to say this, that whoever's listening to this and watching, you can actually define what you just did as a pivot. It really is, because you used to just think about identity systems and visual design, but now you're getting into business design and user experience. You're offering up a more strategic role or service to your client to say, like, how can we improve the experience for people? What are the challenges and the pain points? You're really getting into diagnosing a real problem and solving it using your creativity. The last part that you do is just to design the label. But first, you needed to understand that people are reluctant to buy foods that aren't prepared or frozen or boiling hot because there may be some lingering germs on the food itself. And that was a very real concern. And once you're able to identify that challenge, to walk in their shoes or to 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 be in the mind of the potential client customer, you can understand that. Okay, so if you're in the hotel business, what are you going to do? So I have not personally spent time thinking about this, but you would go through the same kinds of thinking. You would probably workshop it and sit there and figure out, how do we use the space that we have? Because people don't want to stay here. People do not want to congregate. What are we going to do? And so you kind of have to think about that. Right now, unfortunately, there's a very low premium on space.
Right.
Right?
That's yeah. Because everybody's just freaked out, right? Everybody
Yeah.
wants to
Yeah.
stay away.
There's vacant buildings because nobody's going to their offices. High-rise, mid-rise buildings that nobody's going into. And it's even worse, I think, for hotels because what are we going to do there? What are we
Yeah.
going to do? So I think you could potentially, I'm going to give you an idea right now. It's just coming off the top of my head here. You could create the first ever COVID-free hotel where it's sealed away from the public. So everybody in the hotel has been tested. And you cannot leave the hotel once you step in, because once you leave, you can't return unless you get tested again. So all the staff, the food prep, everything has been very carefully sealed like a biodome away from the rest. That way you can still party, you can still hang out with people, go to the pool. All the food has been delivered, inspected, and carefully prepared. You could create the first ever. And that's another pivot there, because we do need social interaction. We need to be around other human beings because it's maddening to be by yourself isolated for extended periods of time.
I absolutely agree. Seeing the guys here today was actually like, what? We're seeing each other here in the same place. And look, you mentioned that the safety seal for the restaurant, as an example, or kind of biodome hotel situation, it's a design solution, a design problem, and a design solution. And creatives and designers move up from thinking about a brand and identity systems and logos, ideograms, and visual styling to systems or process, right? So it's pretty amazing that, just a little bit of we need to shift a little bit to the side, and it changes the whole thing. Changes the whole thing.
Yeah.
But we kind of need to have a conversation about it so that it could open up. So while you were talking about the hotel and you're saying, so at least we could gather here in the Philippines, we've not been allowed to gather. Like mass gatherings have just been stopped. You can't. So what in effect that has done to another industry, which is the event space, organizers, producers, workshop people,
Right.
basically it's halted. And this is one group of MSMEs that's really kind of in pain right now. And they're thinking, what am I going to do? What am I going to
Yeah.
do? Because there are no events, absolutely no events. And that's my bread and butter. What are your thoughts on that, Chris? What can an event business do?
Okay, this is very real. Events and things that require people to gather in close proximity to each other. There's a whole ripple effect here. You just mentioned a handful of people that are impacted, industries and verticals that support event planners, right? We're not even talking about the event halls, the catering services, janitorial, all the things
Yep.
that have to be there for this to work. So it's decimated the event space because how do I know this? Every place that I was booked for the year, except for one or two, has been canceled already. And it makes a lot of sense. You don't want to be the place where everybody gathers to get sick and then potentially die and spread it wherever else they go. It's a dangerous thing because you also know that when events happen, people come from faraway places, they come and congregate, and then they return back to which they came from, and then they spread it all over there. That's probably really, really irresponsible. So we kind of have to think, if you strip away the delivery vehicle and you talk about like, why do people gather for events? What is it for? Let's brainstorm together. What do you think,
Yeah.
Tom? I'll take notes here, okay?
Yeah.
Why do people gather at events? What are they hoping to do? What is their takeaway from the experience?
Uh, okay. Well, depending on the event, let's assume it's
Any event that you're familiar with, it's fine.
right, right. So let's say it's a concert. It's a concert,
Okay.
right? Typical.
Mm-hmm.
People gather to consume the music and have a live experience with a band or the DJ, and to enjoy that with a community, with other people, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of because it's a full experience. You go through it, and from the door, from the ticket to the whole thing. I think that's what it is. It's a memory that you're after.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, an experience and a memory.
Okay.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I don't know if you're aware of this, but I think it's in Denmark. They have
Mhm.
drive-in concerts now.
No, I read about that. Yes.
Yeah. So I looked into it. It's kind of interesting. So they're using open lots because now there's lots of space and nobody wants to use it. Sometimes they're open fields or parking lots, and they're bringing back the old drive-in theater concept. And I'm old enough to actually have vivid memories of going to a drive-in theater. So they have a band or sometimes a solo performer on stage, and they have camera people who are in full protective gear broadcasting via Zoom, piping sound into a closed FM channel that you can tune into so you can listen to it with your high fidelity sound system inside your car. And everybody is told only roll down the window on the driver's side so that we're not passing germs through the cars, right? So we're maintaining our 6 feet of distance. We're able to see the band, and we're able to have multiple camera angles on our Zoom, which is really cool. And if you want to do that, and they've also figured out, well, how do you participate? Because participation, like the tightness in which you're packed in, and the friction that you may feel from all the energy around you.
Yeah.
How do you do that? How do you hold up your lighter? How do you hold up your phone and wave? And what do you
Or
do to celebrate?
eh,
Yeah, how do you do that?
how do you
So they
do that?
figured it out. They figured it out. If they're all feeling something, like instead of doing this, what do they do?
What do they do? Tell me. Do they turn on their phone? What do they do?
Windshield wipers.
Oh, windshield wipers.
Yeah, you see what I'm saying? And it's like, you know what? This is the moment. Everybody, go dark, turn on your headlights. You see, it's like we'll figure out a way to interact in the ways that we know how. We're, as a species, super creative. You design the experience, you put parameters or constraints on it, and within that, people can do something. And if it's like the big climatic fanfare, like we're about to end the concert, shoot your windshield with water.
Right, right.
So now, as an event organizer, if you plan to have lights instead of just on the stage, but also on the side, hitting cars and sweeping the field, as these water droplets spray or the fluid sprays in the air and it catches with light, and people are like bouncing in their cars or doing what they're doing, that's an experience.
But on that token though, like on that same token, right? Like we're saying that as an event organizer or a planner, coordinator, still do events, but do it differently.
Do it differently.
St- Still organize, still plan, still be hired to do the same to kind of execute your what your purpose was, but do it differently, approach it differently.
Yeah. I think in both examples of the restaurant, the hotel, and now the concert, the event, people get too stuck in the thing that they make. They forget that the thing that they make is the byproduct of some other result that they're trying to achieve. So if you say, I'm an event planner, I'm going to design an event for you, well, design a freaking event. It doesn't have to be the way it used to be. It doesn't have to have the same form. And you can get really inventive this way.
Okay.
You can have people shuttling food or souvenirs or things from a very safe place and deliver it to people on their car. Text XYZ if you want this or that, and they'll bring it right up to your car and they'll deliver it right to you. They'll throw it in your trunk so you don't have to touch it, and you could clean it up later. Think about that. You have to just use your creativity. And we get stuck in these patterns of thinking and behaving, and that's why we get stuck.
And we're all creative, and there's a ton of technology that enables these fresh approaches to the same industry or the same business. Because I caught like I saw an example. One of the event guys in Australia, what he did was he shifted into creating a massive warehouse studio type, full of screens and really good internet, so that now the speaking event of someone could be held within that space, and you have good strong internet, multiple Zoom accounts and cameras and things like that. So I think that was a good and successful way to pivot. But it's good if there is technology that enables it, right? One of the challenges, Chris, that the country is facing is education. Now, I'm going to get mixed reactions from everyone here, and I'm just going to do my best not to step on anyone's toes, right? But as you're aware, we're a third world country, right? And so distribution of education now, as mandated, is going to be online and virtual. And it's a shared accountability between the parent and the institutions that
Right.
exist, right? So, and that's great. That's all well and good. Although a massive bracket of the population can't afford internet or do not have enough internet, and so the next best is probably radio or TV. It's just what what is a better way of rethinking education? I mean, if the problem is infrastructural and uh, unavailable technology, you know?
Yeah. I think we have to think that the internet wasn't around that long. So we've existed and we've taught our children, we've learned from our elders for thousands of years prior to the internet being invented. I think every time you ask me one of these questions, I have to put my thinking cap back on and say, like, what is the core of education? Right? What is it that we're trying to do? And then figure out new delivery systems for this information. There's a couple of things I think governments and municipalities should think about. If you say now the future is going to be online and you're going to be homeschooled, and you know that the population can't afford internet, well, government needs to call the internet service providers and say, you know what, you're going to just hook it up for everybody for free and we'll pay you some kind of rate. We'll buy in bulk so everybody's up to speed. Government can do that. That's what government is for. Like when you pay your taxes and there's a hole in the road, they're supposed to take care of that. This is the purpose of government, is to be able to have that kind of collective power to be able to take care of the people. Government can also issue certain TV broadcast wavelengths for education. And we can share this. And if everybody has a TV or everybody has a radio, then you design the education around those constraints. Like right now, would this experience be inherently very different if people are only listening to this versus seeing us? I don't think it's dramatically different because we don't have a lot of visual aids. You just need to listen to the ideas. And if then you and I had designed a curriculum around this and figured out what the learning outcomes were, we could say, okay, we're going to give you 2 minutes. We want you to scramble throughout the house and grab any kind of fruit that you can get and come back. And then now with whatever you've collected, we're going to make art. So if you have a grape, smash it and try and create color out of it. Use it for pigment. And then from that, you'll share. And there's lots of ways that we can work here. We don't need to be limited by the fact that we have to be in close proximity to each other in a building with a roof. That's really small thinking.
It is kind of I think everybody, including government included, and private institutions, people in general, we're all rethinking things. It's just we have to rethink a lot altogether. And
Yeah.
I think that's kind of what's overwhelming everybody. I could just imagine being a president of a country right now, having to rethink education, economy, business, traffic, all of that. You know, there's just a load. So, I'm going to cap it because the questions are piling up, and I am excited to do a little bit of Q&A. I'm going to cap it with one last question. For the
Before you ask me
people,
next question, can I respond to what you just said?
yes, go for it.
Right. The most powerful person in the country theoretically is the president, right?
Right.
And they're most powerful because they carry the heaviest burden and responsibility of taking care of the people. They're elected officials and they're there and they're doing the hardest job. That's why presidents generally start to lose their hair or turn gray instantly, because it's a lot of stress. And that's what you sign up for, not for the easy decisions, but for the hard decisions. And then you have your cabinet, your Secretary of Labor, your Secretary of Defense, your Secretary of Education, and so on and so forth. And then you delegate those things and say, look, why don't education, you gather the smartest people and figure out what you need. And then you go down the list, and every single person then meets with you and says, in order for us to do this, Mr. or Mrs. President, we need this, or Mr. Prime Minister, and we need this. And then you say, okay, well, what's stopping us from doing that? And you facilitate the whole thing. You just design the process. And how much is that going to cost? Well, Secretary of Defense, nobody's attacking us right now. Everybody's trying to figure this thing out. Why don't we not build that battleship? Why don't we not arm those soldiers anymore? When we move things around, this is what you do. You balance things. Like, there is no future for us if our kids, our children, who are going to be in the workforce in a couple of years, have no education. That's a real problem. The whole system breaks down. Now, it takes time to figure this stuff out. But I watched this video the other day, and it talked about how swiftly, how decisively Germany has moved to help their citizens, their people, in terms of social networks, for making it illegal for people to be kicked out of their homes if they can't afford to pay, giving people money just to live, debt, what is that called? Just free money. It's not even a loan, for small businesses, for big businesses. And what was shocking was they were spending 60% of their gross domestic product, GDP, on social programs. 60%. How does that compare, you say, to other first world countries? They're spending 10%.
Whoa.
This is what government is for.
Right. I absolutely agree. And I think every government has taken action. They've created these, well, I think for our country at least, they've created a task force of interagency task force to kind of be the what do you term that, Chris? The brain trust, trust to kind of rethink stuff, right, and prepare. It's just that we're all doing it at a different pace and different type of prioritization, and kind of how they're splitting up the resources and whatnot. And that's the good thing about like what's happening is that the people are being forced to, going back to your word, innovate. There are people I know that are in the technology space, but are now currently delivering chicken and meats and like selling that, because that's really moving right now here in the country, like delivery of food and things like that. So before I go into my last question, I'm gonna tell everybody who's watching right now. Now is the time to drop in all of your questions, so we can queue them and kind of curate them later. We'll do a Q&A with Chris. So here's my last question. For anybody who's innovating right now, inventing right now, pivoting their business right now, how would one think about the sustainability of a creation, of an innovation? How would one think that through? What are they supposed to look at, Chris?
The sustainability of an innovation. I think what you're asking me, and please correct me if I don't understand this, is that if we move into a different space, how do we know that's the right move to make? Because what if that's just a short-term fix?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay. So here's a couple of things. I think we need to use this moment in time in history that the entire human race is going through to pause, to reflect, and be more intentional in what we do next. The company that used to be in tech that is all of a sudden deciding to sell meat and chicken or whatever it is, that is a reaction. I'm not sure that that's a smart play. If all you need to do is do this, and I try to share this with people, what's happened right now? What's happened is we're not allowed to go out, so we're spending more time at home. So we try to project that forward for the next 3 to 5 years. What does that look like when we have limited mobility and our homes become and our neighborhoods become the centers that they were meant to be? What happens? Well, let's think about this. Well, I'm going to need a home office. Okay, what does that mean? Well, I need furniture, I need equipment, I need chairs, I need everything that I used to have at an office here at home. And so there's this little device here. And the example I like to give is this. This is a little HDMI to USB converter and how I'm able to get a DSLR into my computer.
Right.
So when everybody started to spend more time at home, they wanted to upgrade their video quality. These little devices became instantly sold out. Manufacturing could not keep up with the supply or the demand of these little devices because it did one job and did one job really well. So if you're sitting there and thinking into the future, as probably very likely is going to happen, is that there will be another virus that we're then sheltering in place. So maybe interior designers who know how to make a space look really good, lighting designers who used to work for events are sitting here thinking, for X dollars, we can make you look really good. We can do some sound engineering, electricians, and upgrading power, all the kinds of things and I'm just talking about one facet, which is the home office.
Yeah.
We might need, especially in close quarter city dwelling, other things to help us feel like we're not trapped. Maybe there's something called chromotherapy, which is like light and color therapy, where you can string up some lights, and if you go to some fancy spas, is what they do. They put on that mood music, and they typically put you in a room with no windows, and you don't feel trapped like an animal. And so usually a very small room. And so the hue, the color of the room changes, and it's your Zen meditation room. There's fragrances and soothing sounds like a bubbling brook. And you sit there and you're like, wow, I'm somewhere else. I'm transported for a minute. And if you think like all the innovation has to go into space travel, what version of that is going to make sense for home? Because people in space don't go crazy. And they have to be very innovative in that space, and they have to be able to exercise and how they're able to get food and how they dispose of trash. And you can think about all these things, and then you could probably have a hint or a clue as to the long-term impact of what's happening. So don't be reactionary and say, oh, there's $10 on the floor. Let me stop what I'm doing here and let me pick up that $10, because there may not be another $10. And restarting every single time is a big consumption of energy and resources. So you need to really think about that. Here's another prediction. It's not a bold prediction. It's actually writings on the wall. Education's going to come home. So are you in the education space? And do you know how to talk to people in dynamic ways that it's engaging? Do you know how to deliver lessons that you can do remotely that don't require somebody standing over you saying that's right or that's wrong? So we need people who are really deep into pedagogy and different learning models and workshop designers. Maybe there's a little kit that arrives at your door. So when the teacher says, okay, class, this week we're going to do X, Y, and Z. In a couple of days, you're going to receive a package, or tomorrow, open that package, and it's a self-contained set of instructions and little parts and pieces so that you actually build things with your hands and learn through doing. There's lots and lots of innovation or innovative models out there. You have to be willing to look at them and invest your time and energy to see if this is going to be something long-term, is going to have an impact.
Man, there you have it. There you have it. Now you know what to tell your friend. If they ever ask you, like, what am I going to do, man? What am I going to do? Look, here's what Chris Doe said. Just say everything that he said. Chris,
just point him to the video. Just point him to the video.
Point him to the video. Thank you for all the answers, man. And we'll do a little bit of Q&A, and we'll do a little bit of a lightning round. And so, ask away, everybody. Ask away. So let me just get started here. Let me grab a question, and let me see if I can figure out the category of the question. Right.
All right.
Okay. All right. I'm going to ask this one. It's coming from Facebook. And I'm not sure what the context of the question is, but are there going to be role plays like something from the future? I guess it's pertaining to this today.
Are there going to be role plays?
Role plays.
Oh, I
Uh,
don't know. That's up to the host.
uh, we can. What do you want us to role play on? Like what situation or scenario? Well, I'm gonna move to the next one, Chris. And while we wait for him to kind of answer, and if not, we'll get to the announcement later, and that would be addressed. Um, okay, here's one from a good friend of yours as well. I don't know if you remember AJ from Manila.
Yeah, of course I remember AJ.
Of course, of course. He's currently watching, and he's asking, "What's your advice? Hang on. What's your advice to people who lost jobs, sources of income, and client projects?"
Okay, that's a very big and broad question, AJ. So, the first thing, if you lose your job or you lose an income source, the first thing you need to do is you have to minimize your expenses. And at least here in the United States, you can call up your credit card companies, your car companies, the banks for that hold the mortgage for the place that you live in, and ask for deferment to be able to pay your bill much later. Because people are going to be challenged to be able to pay their bills, and you can negotiate with them. You can ask for whatever term. We've done this too. We've done this with our banks, and they've worked it out with us, and so there's some flexibility here. Depending on where you live in the world, I don't know if there's programs here or in the Philippines where you can receive a check from the government. Are they doing that?
They're doing that.
Good.
Yeah, somehow they're
Okay.
doing that, and the banks as well are offering what you just said, or like
Perfect.
leniency or deferment. Yeah,
Yes. And what you do is you go down the list of things that you have to spend every single month, starting with the biggest ticket item, usually your mortgage, car payments, insurance. If you have car insurance, here you have to have car insurance. You could just call them up and say, look, I'm not driving my car. I'm not driving as much as I used to. What can you do? Help me out. I don't want to be delinquent in my payments, and I don't want to default by any means. I want to honor our deal, but I need a little help. And you just talk to them. You talk to them like a real human being. They may be able to help you out. And you just keep going down the list. So what you have to do is you have to maximize your runway by minimizing your expenses. Okay, but that's not going to get you out of the hole. That's just going to slow the bleeding, if you will.
yeah,
So what do you need to do? I would personally use this time, and we've been under quarantine, I think now for 8 or 9 weeks, maybe more. I don't know. I've lost track of time. Is that we should have been using this time to do self development, to educate ourselves, to read and think. I mean, we're all under the same self imposed stay at home vacation for many of us that are out of work, right? So you can start to use this time like, okay, what is it I'm going to do? And it's a wonderful thing because a lot of times it requires courage for us to shut down our office or to quit our job or to move on. There's no courage required right now because it was forced upon you. Rather than look at this as like a moment of crisis, look at this as a moment of opportunity and look for those moments where things are not being done that you can provide fresh thinking, a new solution for, and start to build that. Now, I want to give you a very practical plan here. If we rely on the local economy, and we know this, that the cost of living is lower in the Philippines,
yeah,
but if you're able to do work for an international audience client, like in the US, the UK, you can command a much higher pay rate because of their local economy, and you trade between the difference between those two things. I'll give you an example right now because we want to talk about practical things that we can do. Because I'm posting pretty frequently on Instagram, naturally people ask me, how much does it cost? I need help. My thing looks like butt. And can you help me? And how much does it cost? I don't do that kind of work. I'm not in the service space anymore. But it got me to think, I know talented people on Instagram who do carousels and who seemingly either are influenced by me or at least have learned it from me or somewhere else. They make great carousels. And so I asked them, what can you afford? And then I asked the creative person, what do you want to charge? And it turns out it's somewhere between $2,000 to $4,000 a month. And Tom, you know this, to be
yeah.
able to create carousels for people. Well, $2,000 to $4,000 a month US dollars can be, if you do this consistently month after month for multiple clients, can be a lot of money depending on where you live in the world. So let me ask you this question, Tom. What do people make there on average as a creative person per year? And translate it for me for US dollars, please.
Right. On average, working in a firm or maybe even
Or
mid-level
independent.
in the firm or getting
Yep.
projects, on average, probably about $12,000 a year.
Okay.
About
That's perfect. And if you were a superstar, how much money would you make?
superstar, like my boy AJ here. You know, uh, probably twice that or 3x that.
3x.
If
Okay, let's just go with 40K.
right, let's do 40K then.
Okay, so everybody that's watching this right now, if I told you I'll help you figure out a plan and you can earn $40,000 US per year working from home, not working a gazillion hours, would you want to figure out how to do this? And
Oh
I
my
hope
God,
the
put your
answer would
hands
be,
up.
yeah, the answer would be yes. Okay? The answer would be yes. Hey, go ahead and hit that like button wherever you're watching this video. Just let me
Yeah.
know if this is what you would want to do. So let's think about this right now. If I take $40,000 and I divide it by 10 because the math is a lot easier, I need to generate about 4K a month. Okay? And if I were to consistently earn 4K a month, I would actually make 48K. So 4K a month, what you have to do is figure out who in the world has a $4,000 problem to solve per month. And it turns out people who want to market and grow their social influence online can spend somewhere between 2 to 4K per month to manage their social media channels. A lot more if it's a much bigger company. So mid to, I don't know, small to mid-sized agencies need this. And if you're really good at doing this and can get the results that they want and create the impact that they need, they'll gladly pay you $2,000 to $4,000. And there's a lot of people out there who want to grow their influence who are not quote unquote creative. They're not designers. And you could do this. Okay. And I'm going to prove this business model because I have a young man. He's in the Middle East, and we're going to try to get him his first client through me for $2,500 a month doing social media posts. And I think because he's really good, I don't even think it'll take him more than a few hours a week to do this.
Okay.
That's just one model, okay?
Right. But reaction to that, Chris, it's
Okay.
it's Chris Doe, right? Not everybody has his endorsement. Not everybody's able to say that this is a Chris Doe approved standard. How does one bridge that gap, man?
Okay, very,
Or
very, very good. I want to address that. Only one challenge at a time, Tom. All right. Okay. Now, you can say, okay, well, you're using your influence to do all these kinds of things. But what I'm not doing is I'm not controlling the market price because I can't. I'm as much as I want to think I can do these kinds of things, I can't. I just say this is the price. And if the market doesn't want to pay it, it's too high. But I know personally from paying it myself that $2,000 to $4,000 seems to be within the range that small to mid-sized agencies and design firms or businesses are willing to spend if someone can crack the social media puzzle for them. It's well within your grasp. So the first thing in order to be able to achieve something is first to believe it to be true. Once you set your mind on, yes, this is possible, figure it out. I'm not saying it's going to, $2,000 is going to be on your doorstep tomorrow, but the first thing that you need to do is get your social media design game on point. You don't need to have a big following. Well, because why does that matter? Because some fool like me is going to refer somebody else that I think is capable of. And so when I told people, if you have at least $2,000 a month to spend on your social media campaigns, let me know. And of course, immediately I got the wrong kinds of responses from people. I got people DMing me and saying, I'll do the work. I'll do the work. I wasn't looking for people to do the work. I was looking for people who want to hire people to do the work because I have plenty of those people. But when I went to check out their Instagram profile, it was garbage.
okay,
I'm not going to connect you to somebody. You're not playing the game the right way. You're not doing what it is that I asked you to do and the things that I'm trying to teach you to do. So what I think ultimately is going to happen is, and AJ and I talked about this before, I'm going to be a referrer of work. And I'm going to give it to people who don't have opportunity but have incredible talent and are hardworking and are honest and ethical. And I've done this before.
well,
Yes.
is there an ability here? What if? Let me do a what if question, Chris. Because you have real influence. You have a real ability to impact designers, creatives from a country like the Philippines or Southeast Asia, or with really great talent, right? Is creating your influence online is kind of a long-winded kind of thing, right? If we were to say, okay, tactically, let's figure something out, would you have the ability to, let's say, if we built a platform, let's say we'll call it the future stamp, okay, the future stamp, or the Doughboy stamp, the Chris Doe stamp, I don't know what you call it, right? If everybody was like, it's Behance, it's Behance, so they could put their portfolios there, and you could put a stamp. This is the future stamp.
I get
right?
it. I get it. I understand the concept. Go on.
Right. Everybody kind of auditions for this
Sure.
whole thing,
Get
and
it.
once they get that like little blue button from the Chris Doe or the future gang, the
Yeah.
future team, then you give them a little bit of clout, a little bit more influence, a little bit more, kind of reputation online.
Okay.
Would that be possible? Is that something that you'd even think about?
I would, except for there's a couple of things here. We have to kind of think about what that really means, both for the end user and for me, right? So if you're
Yeah.
saying, Chris, will you volunteer time from your team to go and look at a bunch of work and judge it in a way that you are stamping it for approval and what weight that carries in the world? I think you're giving it more weight than I think that it might have. Right now, I'm doing hand-to-hand combat, which is somebody who's an admirer of the work that we do. I'm speaking specifically of our Instagram account, my Instagram account specifically. Then I can say, you know what, you can't hire me because I don't really want to do this work, but I'm going to connect you to somebody. Just tell me you have at least $2,000 a month to do this, and they either say yes or no. And if they say yes, I refer them to somebody, right? And when it starts to connect, and then their accounts grow, it's going to be that much easier for people to come to me and say, look, who else you got? And we went in on that. We saw that person's account grow. So the first person that I refer, and when this deal works, it has to work for both people. It has to work for the buyer and the seller. And if it works, then we have a wonderful case study to say, everybody that wants to do this program with me, I'm going to tell you how to onboard the clients. This is when you respond. This is how you take their money. This is how you deal with customer service issues. And we're going to build a blueprint, and then we can do this. But right now, it's going to be tiny because there's only a few people reaching out to me. Naturally, it's not like a million people reaching out to me, and we're going to do this. But all I wanted to do was to get people to wrap their head around a different way of working. So rather than chase more clients, you could do something like this and you can grow. And you and I and AJ have talked about this before. How do we help people in areas where there aren't as many opportunities? And I swear to you right now, if people had just done what I told them to do, they would already be in this wonderful position that many people who have done it are in right now. And they're going to be okay. They worked on their accounts. They've been posting and creating content on a regular basis. They're doing the best to put a website or a portfolio up that feels like it meets the international standards versus a local market. And if you can do that, people are going to hire you.
And if they did that earlier on, I guess it would have enabled you, a guy like yourself and many others, to push work their way, right? If there's no equipment, there's
You don't
nothing
even
to
need me. You don't even need
yeah,
me.
exactly.
It takes
Okay.
care of itself.
Okay, so that should have helped a whole bunch of people kind of rethink stuff, right? Well,
I hope so.
I hope so. It certainly helped me. Let me grab a few more things here. But
Can I tell you something else? I just want to bomb your audience with ideas so they can get unstuck. Because every time I do this, I tell people ideas. What do? They swat them right away. And like, it's not going to work for me. And I say it, fine. There's a Henry Ford quote, if you think you can, if you think you can't, you're right.
you're right.
Whether you think you can, you're right. So if you don't think it's going to work, keep doing what you're doing and don't listen to me. Ignore everything that I say. I'm going to give you another example because I have a bunch of examples here. Because I know people don't believe me. Next example. I was talking to a friend of mine. She teaches. She's a well-known, well-respected, teaching for a number of years, and she teaches a class on lynda.com LinkedIn Learning, right? And I was asking her, how much money do you make from the 4 or 5 classes that you teach? And the number she told me was actually quite low. Now, I want to share this with you. Yeah, okay, I'm a guy. We have a team. We make videos for the internet. Our videos aren't like Mr. Beast videos. They don't get hundreds of thousands or millions of views within 2 days. They're grinders. Our main channel generates $10,000 a month in ad revenue. without divulging the exact numbers that my friend or who my friend is that teaches on LinkedIn Learning, we make almost 10 times as much as she does a month. And all we do is make videos that we care about. So once again, I'm telling you, if you produce something that the world finds to be valuable, they will give you money. Tom, you bought some of our courses. You bought some of our kits. Why did you do that? Because you trust us. You think we know what we're doing. And you readily give us your money, hard-earned money, for a digital product that you're able to download and use, right?
It's my wife's hard-earned money, and no, no.
Yeah.
Why did I buy it? First of all, it's backed by more than 50 years of experience collectively of
Sure.
everybody
Sure.
in Blue. If I buy it, it advances me from doing this 7 years to X amount of years in terms of standard and just process. So
Yeah.
I see the value in that. Well, because ultimately I met you through all the free content you've done.
Yeah.
That's where I found you. Old school, the school,
Look,
the
right.
process. What was it
Right,
called
right.
before?
Yeah. So we create value for you, and eventually you feel like, God, I got to give that dude something back. I'll buy a product, I'll buy a hat or a shirt or a patch or something. And this is how we do this, right? I'm going to give you two more examples really quickly. Jonathan Rudolph, better known as Logo Inspirations, has over 1 million followers on Instagram. He's a young man from Sri Lanka, moves to Australia, and he's a massive dude. And what he does is he curates logos because that was what his passion was.
I
Now, I
follow him.
talked
Yeah.
to him. Yeah, he recently lost his job, same junk everybody's going through. Thank God he has his cushion based on his influence and a passive income business he can fall on. He's married and has a kid, so this worked out pretty well for him. Another YouTuber, Unmesh Dinda, who we're going to have on the show, he's a 20-some-year-old kid. He has, I think, 2 million followers or subscribers to his YouTube channel, and he has crazy views. Okay, so he has more than 2 times the subscribers that we have. His videos probably get 10 times the amount of views that we get. So if we, just by extrapolation, make $10,000 a month in ad revenue, what do you think he's making? $100,000?
There,
Maybe more? 200,000? A lot. A boatload of money more than we are. And he's a young man, and he's 20 something. He lives at home with his parents, and he produces the videos from his bedroom. He read the manual and figured it out. As far as I remember, no formal education for design. You think about this, okay? So if I told you, forget the $40,000 a year, that you can make $200,000 a month on ad revenue doing whatever it is that you want because your audience showed up for you, just think about that. This is what the problem is. We've been trained to fit ourselves into a very tight box that you're going to go to school, you're going to get a degree, and you can go work 9 to 5 for somebody and grind and give your life away, and they're going to pay you a very small amount of money, and the instant that they're not profitable anymore, they get rid of you like that. And then you're lost. And you know what you do when you're lost? You try to do the same thing again. When people are drowning, they have no logic, and all you need to do sometimes is to stand up. I read a stat that the majority of the people, this is a while ago, so forgive me if the stat is incorrect, that the majority of people who drown die in less than 3 feet of water because they panic.
they panic. Exactly.
They purely panic. They don't reach for the ledge. They don't stand up. They don't do the rational thing. And right now, there's good reasons for you guys to panic. But what you have to do is you have to calm the monkey brain and say to yourself, where is this going? I have an opportunity like I've never had before to rethink the direction I want to head in my life. And maybe that angry, bald Asian guy who's telling me to do this, I might try 3 of the things he says. Not all of them. I don't believe him. He's still a scammer. He's still a snake. I don't care. But try the 3 things that I say and do it and see what happens to you.
Well, like again, a common reaction. Look, here's what we did as a company. For example, we're a team of 50. We just said, guys, invent stuff because now like there's a little bit of bandwidth given that businesses come to kind of a pause or a halter. So they figured out like they're gonna release an educational platform. They're gonna release an e-commerce marketing engine thing, and Me personally, I started this YouTube channel, which I've been hesitating because like everybody does, and I started it, and here's the biggest revelation, right? Here's the biggest revelation. By the way, anything we talk about, Chris and I here, we're gonna put links to everything, anything that we're referring to, right? So that you can kind of just click through and see it. But like, um, doing that channel and just talking, talking about what we knew, one of my biggest reveals is that the way content marketing works, because this is what I saw that you did and has made you really successful, is to just give it all away. Just give it. Give as much as you can. And we've read it from Gary Vaynerchuk and other people saying that give. But we don't really get it. Like it's a lot of it is here's my online course that leads to an online course that leads to a masterclass that leads to something else. At $20, $30, 50, 100, it's really just about giving it all away. And that's kind of how it all circulates, just like from that story that you said. So with your permission, Chris, we're going to chop this whole thing up and kind of post it with the different lessons that we're just putting out here, man, like hotels, restaurants, content, just building your influence and things like that, because it's pretty darn amazing, man. But how about here, because people swap your ideas. Like, Chris, come on, man, because that's you, bro. Like, you're you. Here's a common thing. I believe, Chris, I've been doing it. Nothing's happening. All right. How are you going to respond to that, man?
I say BS. Really? Because, people literally, I get these messages all the time, as you can imagine. Somebody's like, hey, Chris, I did what you said in the video. I watched your video and it's not working. And I go to their Instagram account. They posted 2 carousels. Didn't do anything that I told them to do. And like, it didn't work. Maybe you're just the world's worst student. And if you tell me right now that you did 2 things and you tried and like, I give up, it's not working. Well, that's your level of commitment, okay? And I'm going to give you a little clip here that you can edit together, okay? Tom, I try and speak in these ways so that you can cut these up and then deliver them to people. Let me just tell you something. In the book from Seth Godin called The Dip, he says you need to figure out that what you want is going to be difficult to obtain. Or to attain. It's going to be very difficult for you to attain. And this is a good thing. It's a good thing because competition and difficulty weed out the people who really don't want it. This is critical because it creates scarcity. If it were easy, everybody would do it. There'd be no scarcity. There would be no value in this. If we say, it's very difficult to walk and breathe, man. I should be able to command a premium. I should be a pro walker breather. Well, everywhere I look, people are walking and breathing. It's not difficult at all. But if you want to say, you know what? I'm going to be one of the few people who are going to teach people to do X, Y, and Z on Instagram and get to 200,000 followers. It's a long road to get up there. And you have to learn a lot of things to be able to get there. You might be lucky, but like most of us, you're going to grind through and you're going to get there. And the cool part is once you get there, there'll only be 2 or 3 other people just like you. And you'll have the attention of anybody that's looking for what it is that you specifically do. So I know you just said something, Tom. You're like, we told our people, invent stuff, and I'll try this and I'll try that. That's not exactly the way you do it either. Because you're going to do YouTube, you're going to make 4 videos, and you're going to get to your 40th video, maybe, if you're really committed, and things aren't going to work. And what are you going to do? You're going to quit. You're going to quit. And Unmesh Dinda made 100 videos, and I think he told me he had all of like 800 followers at that point. Could you imagine that? To make 100 pieces of content and not be discouraged, not to give up, for 8 followers per video? I would probably throw myself off a bridge. But he did it, and he stuck at it, and he got really good at doing these videos, and his audience grew. It grew and grew and grew. So what you want to do is you want to be strategic. We want to launch 10 initiatives, but before we launch a single initiative, we have to ask ourselves, are we passionate about this? Can we speak on authority? And are we going to see this through the long haul? And does it have the capacity to change the game for us? Don't go like this. That's the drowning thing. So be very careful. So we have in our office, we want to take 10 initiatives this year, each of which has the potential of making $1 million, literally $1 million. So when somebody presents an idea to me and it can't make $1 million, even on its best day, we just get rid of it. So there has to be some kind of criteria in which you decide what you're going to pursue. You don't have to have $1 million idea. It could be $100,000 idea. It could be a $10,000 idea or a $1,000 idea. But you have to be very judicious in what you decide to put your effort and energy into, because it's a law of focus. It's a law of attention. I have a finite amount of it. The more I do, the less powerful my attention and focus is. It becomes much more diluted. That's why people say to you, when you're doing too many things, you are losing your focus. That's what you have to think about, okay? So all these people who say to me, oh, I'm doing what you're saying, it doesn't work, haven't seen it. But I've seen the opposite. I watched that one video. I did this. I just closed for more money than I ever have in my life. I've closed 2 times, 3 times. People send me messages all the time. I've closed 10 times in terms of value than my previous highest job. So tell me it doesn't work again. I challenge you.
That's a challenge. Look, as for me, I feel really challenged, and I'm going to tell you right now, because like this channel that we put up, it's backed by a team, right? Like to produce these videos, it's like 5-7 people, and you probably met some of them too. I'm not going to quit. Okay, making that a declaration right now in front of Chris Do and everybody watching. We're not going to stop, all right? Unless
you're not going to stop doing what?
We're not going to stop producing content.
What does that even mean? That's too abstract.
What's that?
That's too abstract. What does that mean?
What does that mean?
Yeah, like you're going to say creating content for what? You're going to say like we're not going to stop until we get to 200,000 followers on Instagram by 2021. You have to make it specific, dude. You can't just say we're not going to stop. That's like air. Right? So you're going to say, we're not going to quit YouTube until we hit 100,000 followers or what? You have to make it specific, Tom. Otherwise, like, well, it didn't work. We'll go on TikTok. Well, that didn't work. Let's go on Snap. Well, that didn't work. We're still making content on Twitter. You see what I'm saying? You have to make it super specific.
Is this the role play bit now? Am I being...
No. This is just straight up, dude.
It's getting good. It's getting good. All right.
Wait, I want to tell you something. Because I want to put my money where my mouth is, okay? If somebody in this audience of yours, and I'm only making it for the Filipino audience only for the Filipinos, if you are doing what I've told you to do and it's not worked for you, okay, I'm going to make a wager with you. And if you show me what you've done and you followed exactly what I've told you to do and it hasn't worked, I will give you 1 hour of my time for coaching. That's worth $1,000. And if it doesn't, you give me $100. How's that? I bet you right now, 10 to 1 return. Okay, 10 to 1 return. If you show me and I judge that you've done everything, I will give you 1 hour of my time to coach you, and I don't do that for anybody. Just keep that in mind. And if it turns out you didn't do it, you didn't go for it long enough, you didn't go deep enough, you half-assed it, you give me $100. And if you want to do that, send me and say, Chris, I take you on your challenge, the $100 challenge. I need to confirm that you're from the Philippines, and I will do it with you. But I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to make more money from you from doing this. I guarantee it.
Let me quantify this. Is this for the people, only for the people watching and commenting right now, or everybody who sees this piece of content and says, hey, Chris, I did it?
Everybody that sees this piece of content that's in the Philippines, because I cannot go back in time and figure out who's watched this.
Oh.
I'm telling you right now.
You heard it. You heard it.
I'll coach you for free for 1 hour.
From Chris's mouth to your ears. Oh no, like from Chris's mouth to your screen to your ears. Okay, you heard it from here. All right. Legit. Okay.
Well, let me ask you this question: how many people are watching this right now? Can you see?
Give me a quick check.
Okay, so let's do this right now. Is there anybody on this thing right now that wants to take me up on this challenge? Tell them. Go ahead and comment. Whatever platform that you're watching this on, say, I want to take your challenge. I'm willing to do this. How many people? So okay, I see 130 plus. 130. Is anybody saying me? And Kat, you tell us, is anybody saying me? I take your challenge.
If you're taking the challenge, say me right now in the comment. Like put me with a hand raised or me with a...
Okay, and then we'll wait like 10 seconds to see if anybody takes me on my challenge.
Okay, while we wait, Chris, I'm gonna quantify the goals, right? Quantify the goals.
Yeah.
I'll just say, look, the goal would be, let's say, a million subscribers. Okay, 1 million subscribers on YouTube.
By when?
by when? By when? That's very kind of affected by too many things, right?
No.
But
Tom, don't make me give you a free coaching call right now.
no, what do you mean?
Dude, come on.
Dude, like,
Seriously. You can't. Okay, you know how to set a goal. A goal has to be specific and it has to be bound by
right,
time.
of course.
Bound by time is critical.
Of course, of course. Okay. Let's
Well,
just
you
say,
didn't give me a time.
oh my God, dude, like I feel like I shot myself on the foot here. Okay,
Yes,
like
that's what happens when you set goals on the air and spontaneously. This is not the way to do it. The way to do it is sit down and really think, what do you want from your life? What do you think is going to help you get there? And then you set that goal and you lock it in with time.
okay, thanks, Dad. Um, that's true. That's true. I agree. I agree. I'll rethink it.
Please do.
I'll rethink it, and then okay, I'm just gonna jump the gun on the announcement. Then look, we're gonna do this again, right, Chris? We talked about this.
What are we doing? You didn't tell them what we're doing.
We're doing this again. This live session.
Okay.
Because first of all, we've gone overtime, and there's still so many questions, right? So what we're gonna do, guys, is we're actually gonna pick out questions, and me and my team, we're gonna call you, and figure out which questions are really salient and will impact more people, and we're gonna bring you on the show so that you can have a conversation with Chris and a bunch of Filipino talent designers, business people, and just have a what do you call that thing? A round robin kind of situation. So
Sure.
surprise.
Okay. You have to get your announcement game a little tighter. That took way too long to say and explain. All right. Now I'm more interested in something else that's going on. So
Yeah.
Kat says there's 130 people watching right now.
Right.
And she's saying there's people saying me.
Yes.
Kat, can you tell us how many people are saying me? Give me a head count. And I want to make sure they have $100 because I will take your money.
You're
A
about
bet
to
is a
take-
bet.
You're about to take some money, man.
I know. I'm not supposed to. I'm supposed to be helping. But I will take your money because I've seen so many people reach out to me like, I've done everything you say and it doesn't work.
But
So
Chris,
just be very careful.
when people pay attention, right? So it's accountability. That's that's accountability. That's why we're doing this,
Yeah.
right?
So what is Kat saying? How many people
How many people? Let's get a number.
who are saying me? I want a real number right now. Because if it's a lot of number, if it's a huge number, I'm going to say I'm going to stop because I'll deal with these people because I don't want to just give up my time reviewing work.
Right.
Right? So let's say,
What do you
okay,
got?
she's collating from all channels. Okay, hang tight, everybody. We're going to get a dramatic answer here.
Give us 5 minutes. Okay.
5 minutes? Just give me a quick count.
Just
Come
a quick
on.
count right now. Like,
Okay, fine. Okay, move on to your next segment. Go ahead.
How many are you seeing right now? And we'll collate later. There's probably going to
Yeah.
be more, but like
Give me
just a
your best guesstimate right now.
guesstimate. Like about 5? Was that 15 people? 15 people? There's
So
15.
you're telling me I'm going to make $1,500 on this call? This is fantastic. Okay, 15 people. So this is what we're going to do. Okay, I've changed my bet challenge, okay? Because let's say I lose. I'm going to have to give 15 hours my coaching time. I don't want to
You
do
can't
that. So,
set a challenge and then turn around
no,
and change
I can
it.
do whatever I want, Tom. Let me just tell you that right now. You're not the boss of me. All right, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to change the challenge right now, and I may revise this at a different point in time. So only the people who are watching live right now are eligible for the challenge in the period in which this airs. So Kat will give me all your contact information, and I will reach out to you directly, and we will see. Okay? And I'm going to say, we're honorable people here. If I'm the sole judge and I say you have not done to my satisfaction what I've told you to do, you lose, and I want you to go to Venmo or wherever, and you deposit $100 into my account. Done. Move on to your next segment. Let's go.
How much time do they have to do what they're saying, do what they're supposed to do? Like,
They're saying I've already done what you told me to do and it doesn't work. Okay? That's what they're saying. They're not saying I'm going to do what you told me to do and it hasn't worked. This is past tense. I've done what you said. And I got to tell you, with 100% accuracy so far, everybody has told me I've done what you said and it doesn't work. It's not been true. That's why I'm so confident in that. And I'll tell you why. I'm going to tell you a little story, okay, Tom? Story time, and then you do whatever you need to do. I was hanging out with a friend. I'm just going to say his name is David, okay? It may or may not be his real name. And I'm hanging out in Germany, and we're just chatting. And he's still going to school. He's going to med school and everything. And we're chatting one night, and it's like 1 a.m. It's pretty late. I'm tired. We're talking. He's telling me about what he wants from life. And I said, David, I'm going to tell you a business plan, and it's going to change your life. He goes, okay. So the next 3 or 4 minutes, I tell him what he needs to do. And he's all smiley. We're all both tired. What I don't realize is David has to wake up at 5 a.m. and jump on a plane to go home. All right. And then recently, David told me, Chris, my goal is to make $100,000 this year, or 300,000, whatever he said. And I was like, you're a student. You're going to drop out of school and you're going to do this thing. You're going to make this kind of money. That's a really big goal. It really is. You know what? He's on track today to make that goal based on a very simple idea, a business idea I told him about, and he went for it. Of course, he's working like an animal to get this, but he is living in an Eastern European country, right? Where he was a dropout from medical school, and he's going to do this thing, and he's going to make a boatload of money. And I haven't coached him but one time.
So this,
letting you know right now,
this makes it really serious. Like there's 5 to
5
10
or 10. Perfect. It's good. That's a good number. So I'll make it at most $1,000. We'll see.
You know, we'll bring this to a point wherein, okay, we're gonna handle some questions on another live.
Yeah.
Right. But what if we do another live that they're actually on and showing their work?
That sounds pretty exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You okay with that? Like we can show it and like. And
yeah, I tell you what. Yeah. This is what we'll do. You're right. Okay, so Kat, we're gonna lean on the Carve team. You are going to contact each and every one of these people who says me, and we're gonna coordinate this so that next time that we do this show, Tom and I are going to look at the work, and he's going to be the guy who says, you know, Chris, I respect you, but I totally disagree that they actually did everything you said. You owe them an hour, and I will respect Tom's judgment. Usually I reserve final judgment, but in this case, I do trust Tom. If Tom thinks I'm being unfair after my critique of they either did or did not do it, and you'll see live on air me eating humble pie. Okay? If I'm wrong, if I told you to do something and you did it and you have proof and examples, and I have enough examples from you that you did it correctly, then I will give you that 1 hour coaching time. That's it. Let's move on. Next segment. Go.
Let me tell you, that's so much pressure on me. But thanks, Chris. I love the endorsement. I'll take it. Let's do it. Let's do it. All right. Okay. Look, I'll save some of the questions. Just a quick bit of fun here. Let's do a little bit of a lightning round, and then is it okay? Well, we'll figure out the date and we'll announce later. But like, let's do lightning round. Okay, we'll start with easy and then we complicate it. It's just 5 questions, very quickly asked. There are no traps here. Let me go ahead. Salad or steak?
Salad.
Pre-recorded or live?
Live.
Sketchpad or iPad?
Oh, Sketchpad.
Oh, Sketchpad. Okay. IG or Facebook?
IG.
Content is king or context is king?
Contrast is king.
What was that? What did you say? Context?
Contrast.
Contrast is king? It's not even an option.
Hey, that's how I roll.
Dude, you can expect a guy like Chris, though, to be in a lightning round and throw a wrench at the whole thing and just be like, yeah, you know what? Let's change the rules. Love it. Okay, Chris, look, man, it's been an hour and an hour and 37 minutes to be exact. And guys, you know the value of Chris's time, and he spent so much time with us here today. And right now, the conversation was a bit broad, and we're going to kind of zero it in and narrow it down as we go. We have the honor and the pleasure of Chris saying yes. Let's do another one, and let's kind of hone into the real stuff, really. So we really appreciate that. So what we're going to do, Chris and I, we're going to talk about what date, and hopefully bring it all into Zoom, while we also simulcast everywhere, so that we have faster, quicker interaction, and we can actually share screens and such, so that we can look at some stuff together. And I think that is super high value, and that is extremely um, we're extremely fortunate and blessed, Chris, doing that for us, and for me, that's really the country. So, Chris, let's kind of cap it here, and I will say I'll ask you for a parting shot for everybody who's watching right now. Just Chris Doe's parting shot for this live today.
Parting shot, is that just a smile or you want me to say something?
Well, I like your smile, but say something. Say something. Like, what
Oh,
would be
okay.
your?
I want to say this. I want to say this specifically to AJ. I want to say this, okay? Because he and I have been talking about this on and off for a little time here. I really, really, part of my mission is to help people all over the world. And what I'm doing deliberately is talking to people of influence in specific regions in the world where I think I want to be able to help people. So, Tom, you and your team have decided to step up and take this challenge to be able to help me amplify my voice and help people there specifically. And if
Yep.
AJ and other people have brilliant ideas about how I can leverage whatever it is that you guys think I have to help you, let's come up with some real business ideas. Okay? So having a stamp of approval, I think it's one thing. I really don't know if it's going to do what you think it's going to do. So let's come up with some real ideas, and I invite your audience and community to participate in this. If I can help, I will. The little that I'm doing right now is on my Instagram feed. I do guest posts, and that's how I'm helping other people. And so
Right.
people are able to grow their accounts by 10x in some cases, and that's an anomaly, but thousands of followers based on writing one quality piece of content and me sharing it on my channel. And if your feed is good, people will follow you. So that's one way I'm leveraging my influence to help others. There will be other ways, but guys, come up with some ideas. Be creative. And with that, I'm going to wish you guys, I think it's your morning, right?
Morning. Yeah, it's
Yeah, so
ten.
have a great day. I'm going to have dinner with my wife and my family, but that's it for me. Thanks for tuning in, guys.
Well, that's Chris Doe, everybody, and he is a man of his word, and we are so thankful. And look, I think moving forward, you're going to be part of a group called Up Next, and that's where we're going to announce and do everything. You're already there now, or you're joining that now. We're inviting you there. Chris is going to be there as well, so we can engage there. Also, shout out to Dre of the Future PH, one of the admins of the Future PH. Also helped me promote this event, this live, and a bunch of people, AJ and Trixie and everybody. Thank you, and thank you to the Carve team. Shout out to you guys. What up? And Chris, thank you so much. We will work on a schedule, and I'll see you there.
I'll see you in the future.
See you in the future. Woo! Peace out, everybody. See ya. Thank you. Are we still broadcasting? Kat, confirm.
Yes, we are.
We're still live for some reason. I see the red button.